All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is VC Pramod. The headlines. 19 Rajya Sabha MPs suspended for this week for unruly behaviour in the House. Defence Ministry clears arms procurement worth 28,732 crore rupees for Army. BJP and NDPP to jointly contest 2023 Assembly elections in Nagaland. Congress President Sonia Gandhi summoned by ED again today in connection with National Herald money laundering case. Spending on Har Ghar Tiranga campaign declared CSR activity under Companies Act. Bid amount exceeds 1.45 lakh crore rupees on day 1 of 5G auction. US to sell additional 20 million barrels of oil from strategic reserve. Russia to withdraw from International Space Station project after 2024. In cricket, India to host 2025 Women's ODI World Cup and India to take on West Indies in third and final ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain this evening. As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events are being organized by the government as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. Recalling our yesterday's question, in which case that attracted worldwide attention did Roma Rolland and Albert Einstein raise their voice in support of the Indians who were convicted by the British? The correct answer is Meerut conspiracy case. AIR News got an overwhelming response from its listeners across the world, and the one lucky winner of the quiz is Beena Vinay Mahirale from Bhopal in Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
Myself Beena Vinay Mahirale from Ahmedabad. I am very happy to be lucky winner of the 100th question of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav quiz in English. All India Radio News is a source of fast and reliable updates on current affairs. The presentation is in the most healthy and positive way. On the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, I congratulate all fellow Indians and pay tribute to all our freedom fighters. Jai Hind.
The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with the listeners on Monday, 1st of August. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. And now the news in detail. A total of 19 opposition members of Rajya Sabha were suspended for the remainder of this week for their unruly behaviour in the House. They include 7 MPs from TMC, 6 from DMK, 3 from TRS, 2 from CPIM and 1 from CPI. Those suspended include Dola Sen, Sushmita Dev, Dr. Shantanu Sen, Mausam Noor, Mohammad Abdullah, S. Kalyan Sundaram, Dr. Kanimori Somu, V. Sivadasan, Santosh Kumar and Lingayya Yadav. Union Minister Piyush Goyal has said that the decision to suspend the 19 opposition members from the Rajya Sabha for this week has been taken with a heavy heart. Talking to media outside the Parliament, Mr. Goyal said these MPs were suspended for ignoring the chair's appeal and repeatedly disrupting the proceedings of the House. He asserted that the government is ready for a debate on the issue of price rise once Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman recovers from COVID-19 and returns to the Parliament. Mr. Goyal once again appealed to the opposition to allow the House to function.
बड़ा खेद है कि कुछ माननीय सांसदों को सदन की कार्रवाई से इस हफ्ते के लिए सस्पेंड करना पड़ा। सदन में भी और सदन के बाहर भी इस बात को रखा है कि सरकार हर विषय पे चर्चा के लिए तैयार है। महंगाई पे भी सरकार चर्चा करना चाहती है। हम बताना चाहते हैं कैसे बड़े अहम कदम सरकार ने उठाए जिससे भारत में बाकी देशों के निस्बत महंगाई कम रही है। माननीय वित्त मंत्री की तबीयत ठीक नहीं थी, उनको कोविड हुआ था। हम पुनः एक बार आश्वस्त करते हैं कि इस विषय पे चर्चा शेड्यूल होगी जैसे वित्त मंत्री जी का स्वास्थ्य ठीक हो जाए।
The government has said that price situation of major essential commodities is monitored on a regular basis and corrective action is taken from time to time. This was stated by Union Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary in a written reply in Rajya Sabha. He said several supply-side measures have been taken by the government to address inflation. The minister informed that in May, the central government cut excise duty by 8 rupees per litre on petrol and 6 rupees per litre on diesel. The Lok Sabha is scheduled to take up the National Anti-Doping Bill 2021 for discussion today. It is also scheduled to discuss the need to promote sports in India and steps taken by the government. In the Rajya Sabha today, the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022 and the Indian Antarctic Bill 2022 scheduled to be taken up for discussion.
The Defence Acquisition Council DAC, headed by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, has approved arms procurement proposals worth 28,732 crore rupees. The proposal was approved under Buy Indian, Indigenously Designed, Developed and Manufactured or IDDM category, giving a further boost to Atmanirbharta in defence. The ministry said the decision is set to provide a major impetus to the small arms manufacturing industry in the country and enhance Atmanirbharta in small arms. Considering the demand of enhanced protection against the threat of enemy snipers to our troops deployed along the line of control and in close combat operations in counter-terrorism scenario, DAC accorded acceptance of necessity for bulletproof jackets with Indian standard BIS 6 level of protection. DAC also approved the Navy's proposal to procure an upgraded 1,250 kilowatt capacity marine gas turbine generator for power generation application on board Kolkata class of ships through Indian industry. This will give a major boost to the indigenous manufacturing of gas turbine generators. Bharatiya Janata Party BJP and National Democratic Progressive Party NDPP will jointly contest the 2023 Assembly elections in Nagaland. A joint statement signed by the BJP in charge of Nagaland, Nalin Kohli, and Secretary General NDPP Abu Mehta said that the leadership of the two parties led by BJP President JP Nadda and Chief Minister Neiphiu Rio of NDPP have mutually agreed to continue the alliance with seat sharing in the forthcoming elections to the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. More from our correspondent.
Ruling alliance partner NDPP and BJP have reaffirmed continuance of their 2018 pre-poll seat sharing arrangement of 40:20 for the forthcoming 2023 state assembly elections. A joint statement signed by BJP in charge Nagaland, Nalin Kohli, and Secretary General NDPP Abu Mehta on this regard was issued last evening. The NDPP will contest in 40 seats and the BJP will contest in 20 seats. The statement also said that there will be no friendly contest in any constituency. Further, a core committee of NDPP and BJP will formulate the election strategy to decide the seats at an appropriate time to decide in which seat each party will contest respectively. Meanwhile, Nagaland Chief Minister Neiphiu Rio tweeted that under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, their alliance is further strengthened. Rio said they remain committed to work for lasting peace and accelerated all-round development of the state. For AIR News, this is Asanyo from Kohima.
Enforcement Directorate questioned Congress President Sonia Gandhi for over 6 hours on the second day of her appearance yesterday in connection with a money laundering case linked to the National Herald newspaper. She has been asked to appear again today before the ED. The Enforcement Directorate is investigating alleged financial irregularities at Congress-promoted Young Indian Private Limited, which owns the National Herald. Her son and former Congress President Rahul Gandhi was quizzed for 5 days in this case earlier. The ED has registered the case after a Delhi court took cognizance of an Income Tax Department probe against Young Indian based on a private criminal complaint filed by Subramaniam Swamy in 2013. Income Tax Department, which had been investigating the National Herald case since 2016, had filed a charge sheet alleging financial irregularities in the Congress-promoted Young Indian, which owns the National Herald newspaper. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are among the promoters and majority shareholders of Young Indian, with each having a 38% stake in the company.
Corporate Affairs Ministry has said that companies can spend their corporate social responsibility CSR funds for activities related to the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. In a circular, the ministry said spending of CSR funds for the activities related to this campaign, such as mass-scale production and supply of the national flag, outreach and amplification efforts and other related activities are eligible CSR activities under Schedule 7 of the Companies Act pertaining to promotion of education relating to culture. The circular also said that companies can undertake these activities subject to fulfilling the company's CSR Policy Rules 2014 and related circulars or clarifications issued by the ministry. Under the Companies Act 2013, certain class of profitable companies are required to shell out at least 2% of their 3-year annual average net profit towards CSR activities. Har Ghar Tiranga campaign is being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to encourage people to bring home the national flag and hoist it to mark the 75th year of India's independence.
अब हर घर की छत पर शान से फहरेगा तिरंगा, गुनगुनाए जाएंगे नव विकास के गीत, आन बान शान का प्रतीक राष्ट्रध्वज तिरंगा। आइए आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के पावन अवसर पर इस स्वाधीनता दिवस हर घर फहराते हैं तिरंगा और लेते हैं भव्य और सशक्त भारत के निर्माण का संकल्प।
आइए हर घर फहराएं तिरंगा।
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. 19 Rajya Sabha MPs suspended for this week for unruly behaviour in the House. Defence Ministry clears arms procurement worth 28,732 crore rupees for Army. BJP and NDPP to jointly contest 2023 Assembly elections in Nagaland. Congress President Sonia Gandhi summoned by ED again today in connection with National Herald money laundering case. Spending on Har Ghar Tiranga campaign declared CSR activity under Companies Act. Bid amount exceeds 1.45 lakh crore rupees on day 1 of the 5G auction. US to sell additional 20 million barrels of oil from strategic reserve. Russia to withdraw from International Space Station project after 2024. In cricket, India to host 2025 Women's ODI World Cup. And India to take on West Indies in the third and final ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain this evening. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
कॉम्पिटिशन्स की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर अभ्यास कार्यक्रम है आपके लिए। अपने सवाल भेजें व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करें abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर। आपके सवालों के जवाब हमारे एक्सपर्ट देंगे हर शनिवार रात 9:30 बजे। इस बार का विषय है इकोनॉमिक्स यानी अर्थशास्त्र। आपके सवालों का हम करेंगे इंतजार 27 जुलाई तक। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग हेतु संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Welcome back to the morning news on All India Radio. The government has received record bids of 1.45 lakh crore rupees on day 1 of India's first ever 5G spectrum auction. The crucial 700 MHz band saw bidding for the first time. The mid-band 3.3 to 3.67 GHz and high band of 26 GHz airwaves attracted strong interest. All bids were at base price. Addressing a press conference in New Delhi, the Minister for Communications and Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnaw, said that the government is working on war footing to complete the auction of spectrum in mid-August, and the 5G service is likely to be rolled out in October this year.
Day by day, 24/7 काम कर रही है team, and in a very record time we'll allocate the spectrum. Target was to complete the entire process before 14th August. Start the service will be immediately after that. Completing the process and starting the service will be immediately after that. In September, October we should see the 5G service in the country. Spectrum allocation कर देंगे, सारे जो agreement sign करने हैं वो सारे complete हो जाएंगे.
All three private telcos, Reliance Jio, Bharti Airtel and Vodafone Idea, are said to have bid for mid and high band airwaves as they set the stage to launch services which can offer 10 times higher mobile internet speeds than 4G. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Gujarat and Tamil Nadu tomorrow and on Friday. At around 12 noon tomorrow, Mr. Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple projects of Sabar Dairy, worth 1,000 crore rupees at Gadhoda Chowki, Sabarkantha, Gujarat. These projects will empower local farmers and milk producers and increase their income. This will also give a boost to the rural economy in the region. Mr. Modi will inaugurate the powder plant at Sabar Dairy with a capacity of around 120 metric tons per day. The total cost of the entire project is more than 300 crore rupees. At around 6 in the evening tomorrow, the Prime Minister will declare open the 44th Chess Olympiad at JLN Indoor Stadium, Chennai. The Chess Olympiad is being held in Chennai from 28th of July to 9th August.
Kerala government has decided to launch measures to achieve complete digital literacy in the state. Addressing a school program in Thiruvananthapuram, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan said the initiative is to make the people, especially children, aware of the traps and threats in cyberspace. He pointed out that smartphones had become part of everyone's daily life and a significant tool for online education in post-COVID period. Children cannot be kept away from digital space forever, but their safety and security should be ensured through awareness, the Chief Minister said. In Bihar, 26 people died and 9 injured in lightning and rain-related incidents in different parts of the state. Most of the dead were farmers working in their fields when the tragedy struck. Maximum 9 people were killed in Kaimur, while 17 lost their lives in Bhojpur, Patna, Jehanabad, Rohtas, Aurangabad, Arwal and Siwan districts. Expressing grief over the tragedy, Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has announced an ex gratia of 4 lakh rupees to the next of the kin of those who lost their lives. Mr. Kumar appealed to the people to take precautions and remain alert during lightning. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
On the 27th of July 1889, British India Committee opened in London. Congress leaders like W.C. Banerjee and Dadabhai Naoroji were of the opinion that Indians must gather support for the cause of independence in the British Parliament. In 1888, the Congress recruited an agency in Britain to publicize Indian issues to the British public. Headed by Digby, this organization arranged public lectures in England and began public distribution of pamphlets highlighting the issues in India.
In July 1889, a permanent British India Committee was established with Wedderburn as chairman and Digby as secretary. The committee provided information about India, tailored to a British readership. The British Committee published the journal India as an organ for the Congress's views. It also organized public meetings. The influence of its early works resulted in the Indian Councils Act 1892.
As a result of the efforts of the British Committee, an Indian Committee was established in the British Parliament in 1893 as a pressure group to influence policy directly. The British Committee of the Congress continued to function up to 1920, when it lost its support to the Congress due to a decline in moderatist membership and was abolished.
27th July is the birth anniversary of Kalpana Bhatta, who was born in 1913 in Chittagong, now in Bangladesh. She was inspired by the martyrdom of Khudiram Bose. The cause of patriotism made inroads in her life while she was in Chittagong.
This was further encouraged while she was pursuing her studies in the Bethune College, Kolkata. She was a part of the Chittagong Armory raid in 1930. Kalpana Datta was one of the members of Master Da Surya Sen's revolutionary group who carried forward the work of Pritilada Wadedar. She was also a member of Chhatri Sangha. She was a part of the Chittagong Armory raid and the first attempt at torching Pahartoli Club. During the second attempt made by herself and Master Da, the British were better prepared.
Kalpana Bhatta escaped at that point in time, but Master Da was finally captured in the year 1933. Later, after 3 months, she was arrested and sentenced to life. However, she was released 6 years later. Kalpana Datta graduated from the Calcutta University in 1940 and joined the Communist Party of India. She served as a relief worker during the 1942 Bengal famine. And during the 1947 partition of Bengal, she wrote her autobiography titled Chottogram Ostragar Akramonkari Der Sriti Kotha, which has been translated into English also. She later joined the Indian Statistical Institute, where she worked until her retirement. Kalpana Datta breathed her last in Kolkata on the 8th of February 1995. AIR News salutes the great daughter of India.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted CRPF personnel and their families on the raising day of the paramilitary force today. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said CRPF has distinguished itself for its unflinching courage and distinguished service. He said the role of CRPF, be it addressing security challenges or humanitarian challenges, is commendable. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has greeted the personnel of Central Reserve Police Force CRPF on their raising day. In a tweet, Mr. Shah said with their bravery, CRPF personnel have not only made a unique contribution in keeping the security of the country intact, but has also created a proud history of valor, which every Indian is proud of. He saluted their service and dedication to the nation.
India has called for a peaceful resolution of the Israel-Palestine conflict for bringing lasting peace and stability to the region. Chargé d'Affaires at India's permanent mission to the UN, Ambassador R. Ravindra said this on a debate at UN Security Council. He highlighted that India remains concerned over the developments in Israel and Palestine, in particular the continued violent attacks and the killing of civilians and the acts of destruction and provocation. He said, we reiterate our call for complete cessation of all acts of violence. He said that all unilateral measures that unduly alter the status quo on the ground and undercut the viability of the two-state theory. The U.S. government will sell an additional 20 million barrels of oil from Strategic Petroleum Reserve as part of the Biden administration's effort to bring down oil prices. This makes the fifth such scale that President Biden has authorized. White House continued to blame disruptions caused by Russia-Ukraine conflict for the high prices. The White House also announced that the Department of Energy is proposing a rule change regarding how the federal government acquires oil for the Strategic Reserve. The new rule, if adopted, would permit fixed price contracts as well as index price contracts. The current rule requires purchase prices to be set by a price index, with the price paid being based on market prices at the time of delivery.
Russia has decided to quit the International Space Station after 2024. Moscow Space Agency Roscosmos newly appointed chief Yuri Borisov announced the decision yesterday. President Vladimir Putin was also briefed about it. The announcement comes as tensions rage between the Kremlin and the West over Moscow's military operation in Ukraine and several rounds of unprecedented sanctions against Russia. NASA has made no immediate comment on Russian decision to quit the International Space Station after 2024. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price called the announcement an unfortunate development given the valuable professional collaboration our space agencies have had over the years. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said the U.S. is exploring options for dealing with the Russian withdrawal.
On to sports. In cricket, India will take on West Indies in the third and final ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain today. The match will begin at 7 p.m. Indian time. India lead the three-match ODI series 2-0. Shikhar Dhawan-led side will now look to continue their form today with an aim to top up a world record-winning feat. India created a world record on Sunday by sealing their 12th consecutive series win in the ODI format against the West Indies, the most against a team. International Cricket Council, ICC, has confirmed that India will host the 2025 ICC Women's ODI World Cup. India, Bangladesh, England and Sri Lanka were named as the four hosts for ICC Women's White Ball events from 2024 to 27 yesterday. Bangladesh will host the 2024 Women's T20 World Cup, while the 2026 edition will be held in England. Sri Lanka has secured hosting rights for the Women's T20 Champions Trophy, slated for 2027, provided it qualifies for the event. The hosts were selected via a bidding process overseen by ICC Board Subcommittee, which included BCCI President Saurav Ganguly. BCCI Honorary Secretary Jay Shah said that BCCI will leave no stone unturned to make it a memorable event for everyone concerned.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. The Economic Times reporting on 5G spectrum auction notes bids come in for record 1.45 lakh crore rupees on day one. Starting August 1, all 1.6 lakh post offices in the country will facilitate the sale of tricolour, pushing the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. The Tribune says government eyes Guinness record with Azadi Mahotsav. A top front page headline in the Hindu quotes Supreme Court questioning the government, asking, can promises of irrational poll freebies be curbed, suggesting control on bribing of electorates. 29,000 crore rupees proposal for bulletproof jackets, rifles cleared to gear up frontline troops, reports the Pioneer. Panel formed to curtail fake reviews on e-commerce sites, cites the Hindustan Times. Battle lines harden as 19 opposition MPs suspended from RS for a week, is a headline in the Indian Express. And finally, a Times of India story writes about the easing of travel on high-speed corridor under the headline, use mobile app to find your way on regional rapid transit system, watch movies on the go.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. 19 Rajya Sabha MPs suspended for this week for unruly behaviour in the House. Defence Ministry clears arms procurement worth 28,732 crore rupees for Army. BJP and NDPP to jointly contest 2023 Assembly elections in Nagaland. Congress President Sonia Gandhi summoned by ED again today in connection with National Herald money laundering case. Spending on Har Ghar Tiranga campaign declared CSR activity under Companies Act. Bid amount exceeds 1.45 lakh crore rupees on day 1 of 5G auction. US to sell additional 20 million barrels of oil from strategic reserve. Russia to withdraw from International Space Station project after 2024. In cricket, India to host 2025 Women's ODI World Cup, and India to take on West Indies in third and final ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain this evening. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.